Aho tau noa o September na o whanongo ai ki he tsunami na e hawai tahi na e whai e ku whohilo a kau pia na e hoko ai mofuike kamata i he i mofuike maha pena e ni te ni mahono ki ngā lulu pato e ki longo ia mahapena ia.
Ia o le na wa ia ia o titilo atua o saule ngalo. O wala o tulo lau whanau. Tau whetuli wa saule ngalo. Ia na ulili wa tulo i tuele ia se simento e tapa iai. Na le halua le ato maawe tamai titi.
When the earthquake hit, Sonny only had enough time to get his daughter into his vehicle before the wave picked up the car with them in it and floated them away to here, about 500 meters from the road. The only way they escaped was through the sunroof, where they managed to swim to safety.
The tsunami that hit parts of Samoa, American Samoa, and the newer islands in northern Tonga at the end of September 2009 took almost everyone by surprise. Many people were later thankful that the giant destructive waves came in the early morning, when most of the children were at schools that were for the most part located on high ground.
Il Tongan Trench po o vanu tutele ia tulata ile tu saute po le tu tanga le ai mafu mai ai le fse ta yo papa tele lo to oto i lalo le ele masami le mafu ai on lulu mafu.
The tsunami was devastating, resulting in many deaths and widespread damage to the coastal zone, to buildings, roads, crops, and infrastructure, such as communications, electricity, and water supplies.
The islands of Polynesia are rich in oral traditions. It is therefore surprising that very few people in the islands remember songs or stories about past tsunamis in the region, because records can be found of these events. With little or no known loss of life, these past events, known as paleo-tsunamis, may have been regarded as bigger than usual waves and quickly forgotten.
This was not the case for the tsunami at the end of September 2009, when a series of giant waves, up to 14 meters in height, crashed up to 700 meters inland.
Ile taiminga lulu le mafui e. Sale ai so fefe pepa pe o te popole tupu se va ala velavi. Ina ua umana lulu le mafui e. Sa unu funu fa mo la ku kila ula au ke fa long long I kala fola saule la fa sa wele I kala fola ile mafui ele I umia au fa long inga pese me la ngolo mai ma lu sale ngolo ia ole sa vali akula se o kama nga iluma la wala ele ile va ai kulo ai kaval ang mai lo ya kia mo e ma kaval au fa mai le sungami Mamomo ya mambal ang miya mako. Ya sama ko fikul ko mi sa ufanga. Mako ko makikilo. Bo o mayale le sawa le sulami. Maki kila kala sa sulami e mawalunga kai pe ale afal po molile le sa sulami ai ka avili fa pe ai luli fa le sa le me mawalunga le sa anga okua o ke pa ko o le me esa le me le sa o fefe inga o kapa ka se o fanga inga momo ya kwa o kule kala yu kon mako fal palangi I mako kipe ko ingat ko nga ba ma halu el kon mako kuli ya makife e ya la maru mako kuli se o fanga mako longo ko iska kala piko yu kala le sulami le wasa
o le isi mau whaatala tuu o le mawau o mea na tutupu e toi tutupu foi a veia le nei mala waafe ai Samoa e whamanatua i a tātou uma le matua te tau o na tātou nofo sauni teimi umalava e tūlai mai ai mala whape nei o na tāngo fia babe lo leo ngā o yoinga o te tau matana whea ngai.
With close to 200 men, women and children dead, and many thousands left homeless, this event was the most tragic natural disaster recorded in Samoa, American Samoa, and Tonga, and provides important lessons for the people of these countries, and indeed the entire Pacific, where most of the population lives in coastal villages. Many of the lessons we can learn from the tsunami apply to all kinds of natural disasters and fall into four main areas that form a cycle: being prepared for a natural disaster, knowing how to respond or act when a natural disaster strikes, recovering from the event, and using the lessons learned to mitigate the impacts of future natural disasters and thereby reduce the risks we face when a natural disaster strikes again.
It is early morning and the day is starting like any other day of the week. Families have finished saying morning prayers and many children are already at school. Farmers are making their way to their plantations. Some fishermen are out at sea and surfers are trying to catch their first wave.
It seems like any other day, but at 6:48 a.m., deep in the Tonga Trench, the Pacific and Australia tectonic plates shift. The magnitude 8.1 earthquake released by the colliding plates lasts for several minutes and was felt in much of the region.
Eight and a half thousand kilometers away at the Tsunami Warning Center in Alaska, an alarm alerts the watch officer at 1750 Greenwich Mean Time to a possible earthquake. 2 minutes later, the automated system locates the epicenter in the Tonga Trench. As people in the islands are shaken by the strength of the tremor, some begin to worry about a possible tsunami, looking anxiously to the sea for any unnatural signs. Animals near the coast, more sensitive to the Earth's forces, begin to show obvious signs of agitation. Also greatly concerned were local disaster management officers who, on their observation of the strength of the earthquake, requested tsunami warnings to be transmitted via mobile phones. Some 12 minutes had lapsed since the earthquake had ended and the giant waves were about to arrive. Radio broadcasters, responding even before receiving official warning, started to advise those on the coast to move to higher ground. In many of the coastal villages, there were some who started to call out to people to run inland as a tsunami may be approaching. Among these were the children who had learned about tsunamis at school. While some people heeded their call, many did not take the warning seriously until they themselves could hear and see the giant waves approaching. By then it was too late.
By this time, also too late, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center in Hawaii had posted an official warning for a possible tsunami, and this was being transmitted throughout the region under existing early warning protocols. Relatives living overseas who had heard about the earthquake in the South Pacific and the possibility of a tsunami started calling their loved ones in the islands. The waves, just a few centimeters high in open water, had already traveled the short distance to the nearest islands at a frightening speed. Just as people were beginning to realize an impending disaster, the rushing body of water, meeting resistance in a shallower depth, slowed down and went the only way it could, upwards, to form the first giant wave to batter the shoreline. People in these islands saw the sea behave strangely, heard the roar of approaching waves, then experienced one of nature's most terrifying and destructive forces.
Ako na ito ay piyaw na mo'y mufugike na to may pigo ay mufugike mo piyaw pa may nolega ko wa mateya mo family. Ole fiawo o mayai. Ele tau no to mana tu fatova ia Samoa. Ile mawa ole malos. O mene o ngalulolo. Mala faina il soifua ele ngata ngalulolo a wafa e ono tulai mai a pata to mana tunatu fo I fa o valelia ma ofa elivas fulu malivas fumatas e mawa e foi mena tupu ele nate mai sele la no o fale na fata mai e wila ina le tele ni tangata na malilio masoifua na mawai ai mawa e fale na fale ngai ile fa wa so fa po o tali lingia pe le matangi ma fa wa pe le malosi na o a se lau fit sulima mai le tula.
A tsunami is one of many kinds of natural disasters that can hit the Pacific Islands. As was the case on September 29th, an offshore earthquake, resulting in an abrupt displacement of deep water, can generate the giant waves. 81% of the world's strongest earthquakes occur at the edge of the Pacific, an area known as the Ring of Fire, a series of tectonic plate boundaries associated with high earthquake and volcanic activity. The Tonga Trench, close to all the islands of Polynesia, is one part of the Ring of Fire where earthquakes are indeed a frequent occurrence. Although not as common, a tsunami can also be generated from a volcanic eruption, an undersea or coastal landslide, or by a meteorite impact on the ocean. Other natural disasters that can strike the islands are cyclones, volcanic eruptions, flooding, earthquakes, landslides, and forest fires. These events are expressions of the energy that permeates the natural world. Water and wind are important for life on Earth, but these same elements in extreme conditions can destroy life. This film uses eyewitness accounts of the tsunami and the ensuing scientific investigations to highlight some of the important lessons to be learned about tsunamis and other natural disasters.
Sa lulul mafu kayau ia sa mai kawinga o se mafu sili leo nga faisi umi o nga lulu ma sa mai kawinga foi fale le malosi kele le mafu
ele umia wa tuitai ola esele tu nga mea o ia ua li atole a wa fa fitangata wa uli ato mai awa pu atole mea ele umi na matoi fafu ai umalo mal mafu ele umi ala la matoi ai tapena la matoi fali ai vala au mai lo fa popo malolo tapenga tamai ti malu le tuli uta la wa saule ngat o tira tulo le ngat wa matana fati mai le pito tamata ole waf o vaya tu ngalu ele mawa lalo mori ole le awala le mawa lungo le ngat o tango tulo ele mala fa na mato tau fetudi lo si fa na o tu mai ai tu le mato muku ka tiro mai ai palo le ngalu mato fale atolo ilalo mato fale uma alu lo mal mato tuni masi fa na o fa zo mai le mo ko le ale la ko le ngal ya mo ka mo e ngam fo ngai o ki la ki mo o sama ko mo ki ka mo e yu ka mo wa ya no ki nga nga kanya lo sama ko le lo fa I le ma kremanga ya sa dang fa lo alo fa ya mama ko fe ya ma ko wo ma a ko yuka ya ma ko fe ka ngi sia wa we ngole manga
ruru mafu olo walongo mele tu e tato e yai le mele sautua mele la tunu we ya lo fangia tato saungi I so se taimi ruru mafu pa pena tato wa I me mo lunga ya awala bersaunga le muyo tato wola ya mai so to so fu ya fa pena na saunga le muyo tato uma.
Understanding how tsunamis are generated reveals that a strong and prolonged offshore earthquake is like a warning from nature that a tsunami may soon follow. Closely observed, animal behavior may also reinforce the message of an impending natural disaster. But not just any offshore earthquake will result in a tsunami. If you have trouble standing up or walking, if objects are being shaken off shelves, and if the earthquake lasts more than a few minutes, it is likely that a tsunami will result, and people near the coast should not wait for any other warning, but should move immediately to higher ground. Other natural signs of an impending tsunami are when the seabed or reef becomes exposed or when the sea appears to be bubbling. It is important to remember that there can be very little time between realizing there is an impending disaster and the actual event. Earthquakes can cause instantaneous destruction. A tsunami is a fast-arriving disaster that can travel up to 700 kilometers per hour. Other natural disasters can also arrive in a relatively short period of time. This makes it very important to be prepared for a natural disaster to strike at any time.
O le taimile o le taua I loa, o na ngai loa e tua mota e ele tu maulunga. A wao lato mota e fausi ai. Ia fatasi ai ma fatulanga ai o lato nufo, fawai ma faleaonga o lato fale tapua, toso tu ai male el tisi, fata tu ai male wala. Ili taimine o fanga solo pea ia nisio ngayo inga al tato malo fatitawi o wala ngā lue sota iai ia nuu maula tu tua mota
o pe o le taimi momole nei ua tupuesi faala la faapene ia ua faapena foi la ona iai foi lenau taʻiga ia uma atu foʻi lenei faalaulafi ia alaua iloa lona faatinoga ato e sau alaua iloa le faatinoga e faatino i le auaunaga ia pei la o se tasi foʻi na mafuaga aia ua ia i lau mai tau pe o le mafuanga silia o le naunau taʻiga o loo iai ina ia mafai ona faatino se fuafuaga taunuu i se taunuuga lelei ia e lē mo i latou e mo le toʻatele o le tatou atunuu le ua afia.
Education is critical strategy in any disaster warning system, and in the recent natural disasters around the world, including the Pacific region, many deaths could have been avoided had people in the wake of the disaster been better prepared, reacted to the disaster in the right way, and responded early to calls for evacuation. Acting correctly in an unfolding disaster means not taking unnecessary risks. A disaster is not an opportunity for adventure or sightseeing, and people should remain calm and use common sense to guide their actions. Children and youth often do not recognize how dangerous a situation is until it is too late. Floodwaters are a particular problem not just for the risk of drowning, but also for the communicable diseases such as typhoid fever, cholera, leptospirosis, hepatitis, diarrhea.
When the earthquake was finished, we were in bed, and most of the tourists would have been in bed as well. We were just having a discussion about, whether the earthquake was strong enough to cause a wave or all those sort of things. And it's interesting enough, when you're on holiday and you're relaxed, we're actually trying to find reasons not to go, why we shouldn't go to high ground and why we didn't need to. So we're sort of in that quite relaxed, sort of trying to justify, I suppose, why we shouldn't, why we didn't need to move. And a lot of other tourists have said the same thing. It was all about, rather than, we should go now, it was, well, do we need to go? We were talking about, well, surely they would have a warning system, we will have some time, someone will come or tell us that, there's a wave coming and it'll be here in an hour and we could go. And so we decided to get up, and this probably took a couple of minutes of debating what to do, and so I decided to, and thankfully I decided that I was going to be the spotter, so I just went and sat on a bench on the beach and basically decided that I was going to watch to see if anything happened, and because effectively everyone else was going about their, I suppose, normal business. People were getting up, the people at the restaurant were getting ready for breakfast, and so it was effectively business as usual. People were nervous, but only to a degree.
O whaavlawe tupu whafo se whaale nā tūra matautia. O te langona I le tsunami peona iei taluai. Ana malamalama tangata o le sio tatou atunuu I tūlanga o ngaonga e o iai le whaalawe. Ia mani whaasalalonga fo I mantima inga malapta inga sa whaapeona wha o atilungo o ala whaasalalau. Se me manu e tele ni soifu ai whasaoina.
Kusa pere ia korkoru mingu ke nga whapea mai e pake o ese le ngu. Ia e mai vai e loa le mapu e ange o ngalu I le sami. E o loo whale o loa e whaafisanga I malsami. Mai sa vaia le mapu e whaafose I o ngalu. O le ngalu e le isau mai kua au. O le ngalu nga mapu e lava I le aloalo.
I le tūlanga lawa I o le tupu ai o whaalawe tupu whafose. Whaale nātura. E mo o mia lava le tāpena pena. Le nofo tāpena pena. A me se lava tono au ainga. E le tāpena pena I oe lawa ia malou au ainga. Ia lango tasia se sila fia. I se vaenga po se nofoanga saunga le mu. E ono a nga ia I le teime tupu ai le whaalawe. I so se whaalawe tupu whaale nātura. Tautia.
Being prepared means keeping a disaster kit containing essential items for an emergency situation. Any of the natural disasters can interrupt water supplies, power, communications, and may also prevent access to other parts of a village or country. The emergency kit should allow you and your family to be self-reliant for 3 days or longer.
Ia tātou toi nofo la ma tātou toi mawhauwhau tua le fala lave pe na fe sio tatu watunu na se tema tua iva luafe maliva ya ai mai se foi ole fala lave nei ai Christchurch in New Zealand ia mai a pani ile amatanga tau sanga nei ia bo tatu gloa mo tatu silfiai le malu si anga o lo i tonu o fofoanga le tua e aola ia te tatu le ono tatu le le tatu tapen pinanga awa sisi fa'alave e toe a feile tatu atunu le no manai ai awani ave me ai tatu te popole ma to tu vale ai o me lava fofoanga a o lava te me o mai ai ia o mai lava a o tatu tapen pinanga o matua i o se vaenga pito i sili o na tāua le mo i tātou.
O le i tū tāua o le sauninga wha manatu wha pito le nei. O le a wha manatu ai pēa ia tātou uma le maale ale ma le matautia o le lamatia ngō fie. O le tātou soi fua whātou waa i mala wha fua se i o le nātura e tu tupu mai tu tupu pēa. Ai sea wa nofu fale le lalolangi suinga tele o le tau ua iai nei o se mataupu ua matua whatau e ta i o malo uma o le lalolangi e au fiai ma Samoa.
Se pau o peo nga o peau o nga ulo na la ma ua ta feta fea i lea ngau no to o le taula ma ua ta fea fo i o le foe me o le ngoto o le maa ma le ai se faa moe moe chau chai mai Tua o Israel e o va o au chau chai mai le tua o apera amor e o va o au o vai vai o vai vai a pesi mai a fa so mai le sani un che alanga i lo utama no manu ia oi le langi o lo upapa oi o lo olo che manu ia o lo atua o lo utapasa oi o te toe e ai fanua Tapasa o te toe e ai